Hey everybody, Tim here, Holly behind the camera, and from the look of things, we're pretty big nerds because I'm standing in front of a chessboard with a bunch of D&D minis on it. Why are we doing this? Basically because we're making a paper prototype, if you will, of a game, perhaps a board game, perhaps a video game, who knows. And as we got more and more involved and started playing it more and more with friends and stuff like that, it became clear that some of the things that we kind of ghettoed up in the beginning, like we're really making it so the feedback we were getting was more like, I'm confused as to what my pieces are, rather than like, oh, I like this rule or I don't like this rule. So we thought we'd run through the whole process A to B on like where we started and where we've gone to, just so it might give you guys some ideas on how you might be nerds like us. So if you take a look at this, this is a chess mat, and this has a bunch of D&D minis. And basically, what I would do is I would just sit here and say, all right, your army is these guys. You have the spiders and the little lizard guy and the spellcasting guy, and maybe this is like this guy moves vertically and this guy moves diagonally and this guy moves both, like a queen, a rook, and a bishop or whatever. And then these are your guys, and everyone would get confused because once you're in the middle of things, you're like, wait, is the spider guy mine? And what does he represent and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a mess. Another thing that we did was we made cards. Because this game is a little bit, I jokingly call it Chess the Gathering, because it's kind of like Magic meets chess. And what we would do is I made them square, which is super clever, because then you can put it underneath a piece, and that's kind of modifying him, right? It's a spell on him, and now let's say he has ricochet, so he can like bounce off the wall or something like that. So that was kind of nice. But a big problem is that immediately, like as soon as you have two spells on the guy, like you can't see the one underneath it. And there are solutions to that, certainly. Another problem is that when you go to move it, it's kind of a little awkward. You got to pick it up, even though I printed it on CAD stock instead of regular paper. So there were a couple problems. So then we decided we would solve them. And to do that, I turned to Holly.
Yeah, he said, wife, fix this problem.
Yes, that's what wives do.
At first we thought about maybe using Lego characters because you can get a lot of variety with those. They're really easy to modify. They're modular. Obviously things attach to them really easily. They attach to things really easily, or at least other Legos. But then we decided that would be too expensive because we knew we were going to need potentially like a couple dozen of these little characters. And we didn't want to spend a lot of money and destroy a bunch of Legos. So Tim actually found these great bags of zombie characters on Amazon for like, I think they're like $10 or something.
$10 for 100 of them.
Yeah, so we got a zombie bag of babes and a zombie bag of clowns and a zombie bag of demon dog things.
Yes.
So that's all the problem of being able to find a lot of characters for cheap that we knew we could screw around with. Next step was, how do we make sure that people can tell what team they're on? Easiest solution for us, we thought, was just make it color, right? It's easy to tell that this is one team versus another team because they're different colors. So next step is taking these little guys.
Versus another team.
We have one team versus another team. Taking these little plastic guys.
I can't. There you go.
And applying a color to them. Actually, I should take a step back. Next thing we wanted to do is actually mount it to these little plastic pieces so that when we put them onto the Legos, they wouldn't just slide around. They'd actually be able to like.
We should explain what we're doing with the Legos.
The Legos. Okay, so the Legos, instead of having these handy dandy, nice, easy, cheap little modifiers that didn't work very well and that nobody could read once they were stacked on top of each other, we decided to go with Legos. Very easy to stack.
Right.
Different colors.
So
really
green might mean one spell, yellow might mean another spell.
Yeah.
And then in theory, if that was underneath a character, then you if that was underneath a character.
Yeah, that's why we got these little pieces.
Right. Then you could see that, okay, that guy's got the green and the yellow spell on him.
Yeah.
Very clear and easy, and you can put as many as you want. You can stack them to the ceiling.
Yeah. So then we know. All right. So this solves the problem of the modifiers. This solves the problem of having lots of characters that we know we can modify easily. This bridges them together. It's just another little Lego piece, except it's flat on the top. So when we glue these little guys on, they become a nice solid piece, like this. And when we did that, we had to make sure I think we just went to Home Depot or something and got this, right? So it's a plastic bonding agent. It actually just sort of, you kind of see on this one because I screwed it up a little bit. You can see it just melts the plastics together.
Right.
So the bond is really strong. And
It's really cool. There's like an activator that you just draw on like a maca, and then you just put the glue on,
wait for like 30
and you
seconds,
squeeze them
and then
together.
you just hold them together for a minute, and then they're bonded together forever because they're all melted together.
Right.
So once I got a bunch of these, the different characters, I don't have very many of these undone ones. So imagine a bunch of these unpainted. I took a piece of, where's my tape? I had a piece of tape. To make the painting go a little easier, I just took a piece of tape, masking tape, whatever, it doesn't really matter, just make sure it's wide enough. Sticky side up, and then I put the glued pieces like this, just kind of in a row, far enough apart that you can get around it and paint. Make sure all the paint kind of evenly can get coated onto the piece.
A bunch of minions marching to Colorland.
Yeah, it was actually really cool because then yeah, a nice side effect too is that you could actually dry them vertically. So like I didn't have a ton of flat area to lay these pieces down nicely, so I would just sort of like hang them from the side of a
looks like fly paper.
Yeah.
The neighbors walk by and they're like, "What are these demon dogs hanging off of the balcony?"
Yeah, but it was pretty cool because then they, like I didn't have to worry about having a ton of space to spray paint these and have them dry and everything. And actually, like, then I could also leave them outside and they wouldn't just bloat them everywhere because they were taped to the furniture.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And then I'll show you guys. So now, like, kind of a final product in a way. You can see now it's a lot easier to tell that these are the same characters that move in the same way, but they're on different teams. And you can see that these are 3 different heights of kind of, characters, and so I think it's a lot more clear now. And then you can see over here with the modified pieces, like this is very clear. Like red would obviously mean something, and in this case, like let's say it means that ricochet. So you can just easily tell this has that on that, and then you look at the other one and you're like, all right, that also has the same spell plus 2 more, and he just looks more powerful because he's taller. I have more spells, even though some of those spells might not be good. And then there's the board. We just started printing out these little pieces of paper. It's a lot easier to carry if you're riding around on a motorcycle or something like that. You can just put all these in a little folder. Plus you can start doing all this really D&D type stuff if you want to have like different rooms or whatever.
You also don't need as big a table.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
so
that takes up half the table.
Yeah. So, especially when you're just paper prototyping, it's easy. And when you have a kid and you don't have a lot of room, it's kind of nice. So, and then the last thing is that when we were trying to figure out, we also have mana for now. I don't know if we forever will, but a good way to keep track of that. I was going to use Poké Chips, but Holly put the Poké Chips in storage or something like that because I don't play poker as much. So then we use these dies. Like, just simple, hey, you know what, if I have 7 mana, then, a 6 and a 1, bam. Only problem is that you can't have a 0.
Well, I'm sure they make dice like that. We just don't have that kind of fancy dice.
Yeah,
so
we don't have, like,
standard
D18s with 0s on them.
No.
There's probably a name for a die with a 0.
Probably.
I think that's about it. So this is just kind of what we did to take our little prototype from A to Z. And we're obviously going to keep working on it and stuff like that, but we just thought it'd be kind of interesting.
Oh, my tape.
We found where the tape was, the missing tape. Nice.